Egypt launching a plan to boost sustainable tourism. The country highly dependent on tourism, accounting for 20% of its economy, with mummies, pyramids, tombs and beaches. It is, of course, a treasure trove of ancient artifacts. But visitors have, well, they've stayed away in recent years as Egypt struggles to show the world it is a safe, secure place to visit. Just last month, sadly, 4 people killed in the attack near the pyramids of Giza. But Egypt hoping a new museum will help drum up excitement. It will be the largest museum dedicated to a single civilization and will showcase all of the thousands of artifacts from King Tut's tomb. Well, Egypt's tourism minister, Rania Al-Mashat, joining us now. That is a very exciting project. Tell us more. When does it open?
It's going to open in 2020. Part of our campaign for the country is GEM 2020. We are very excited about this project. It's really from the inside, you have all the monuments, which are very old and ancient, but from the outside, it looks very contemporary. And that is the message we want to give to the world. We are a very old civilization, but we do have modernity. We are thinking differently about our sector. We're changing the narrative on tourism. Just a fact, since we're in an economic forum, 98% of this sector is led by the private sector. So that's something we're very proud about. And going forward, we want to enhance that.
Well, let me ask you something. You've embedded sustainable tourism within the sort of body of what you're doing. You've been doing the job for a year, and yet just recently you talk about the private sector getting involved. Some controversy about, for example, privatising natural reserves. What's going on? I mean, are we selling off the crown jewels here?
No, I want to take us back a little bit. When I first took on this sector, I really wanted the SDGs, the 17 SDGs, to be a key component of our message to the world. And as you see, I always wear my SDG tourism
sustainable development
goals. And so basically, what we are trying to do with embedding these principles with the private sector, for example, is green tourism. We have today 10% of our hotel rooms are aligned with a Green Star certification. We're changing the norms of our evaluation of hotels, the stars. And in the new norms, we're going to include environmentally sensitive aspects in hotels. Just last week, one of the biggest hotels in Egypt moved to solar energy generation, and that is to allow more resources to be used to the servicing of tourists rather than just going and paying an energy bill.
Yeah, this represents 20% of GDP. It's higher than, in fact, in other emerging markets. But what target audience are you going after here in terms of the income levels? Before it was a low-cost destination. You're reaching to Latin America and China, which are not big spenders, and you say you want to have a green touch for those who care, usually middle class, upper middle class. You're going to try to go for the full range? I mean, what's the new strategy really about, though?
I mean, it's a combination, because Egypt, I know you've visited several times, it's a destination that tailors to everybody, to everybody's budget, to everybody's interest. For example, there are destinations that only have eco lodges. So in this situation, it's not necessarily going to be the low spenders, but also there's going to be tailoring and catering for the high spenders. So in any continent, you have this diversity of spending. And what we want to do is to have a message which is modern, exciting, and therefore you are able to attract as many of the different strata as much as possible.
I was inside the Grand Egyptian Museum for 1 square meter. It's a phenomenal structure, but can it be, particularly because you have to modernize the surrounding area of Giza, like the Guggenheim in Spain or the Louvre in Abu Dhabi, which everybody sees as profound game changers in the world? Do you think it can be at that level? And how do you let people know what's inside that extraordinary structure?
For the first time, this museum, in terms of its management, there has been an RFP globally set so that the management would become either international or domestically private. So the government is stepping away from managing many of our sites so that we leave
That's a big change for Egypt.
That's a big change. Even on that, for example, when it comes to transportation, the railway law has been changed so that also the private sector can come in and help. So we take this sector very seriously, and we want to make sure that everything that would help increase its revenue, increase the participation, would be put in place.
Minister, security a significant challenge. As I said, you've been in the job a year and it has been sadly, a very busy one so far as security is concerned. What's the message to the incoming tourists going forward?
I think the message is that the government does everything it can and in its powers to make sure that your visit is one that is enjoyable and safe. We have seen, even from CNN editorials, that Egypt is the second highest on the list as a destination in 2019, and that is based on people's own experience when they come to the country. So I feel that there is a lot of change happening. People are experiencing it firsthand, and through our branding and through our promotions going forward, those aspects are going to be even more clear to everybody.
There's one final thing on your strategy to get buy-in from the entire government. You worked at the International Monetary Fund before. You take a holistic approach. You went to the president and said, here's the master plan that you want me to put forward to modernize. You've only been in the job, as Becky was saying, for a year. Then you went to Parliament and said, we want this passed, so you don't try to shoot it down in year 2 and 3, which is pretty clever because you could get a lot of resistance going forward. So this is a new strategy embedded for the next 5 years as a result of the political buy-in?
Yes. So basically, as you mentioned, Becky, earlier, tourism is 20% of GDP. It's the fastest growing sector. In our plan, which is now transparently on the website, includes the overarching objective that each household in Egypt have at least one individual working in tourism. So in that situation, we need change in legislation, we need change in certain institutional setups, we need to have a modern look for promotion. So all of this requires all the stakeholders to be on the table, all the stakeholders to buy in the plan, because that's the way you generate revenue, that's the way you move to green tourism, that's the way you increase the participation of women, etc., etc., etc.
If anybody can do it, you can do it. We've been talking over the past year. You face challenges, but you're on the road to success. Thank you very much, Minister, for joining us today.